Hello 10T2 and welcome to today's lesson, which is going to be to factorise and solve quadratics. Now we've already done the factorising part, and I said that we were going to after that look at the solving, which is what we're going to do afterwards. Now solving, we know from before, means that our answer will eventually look like x equals something. That's what the solving part means. But first of all, let's factorise. Now we've got a quadratic equation here that equals 0. And as always, I need to find two numbers that times together to make 18, which could be 1 and 18, or they could be 2 and 9. And at this point, I know that Corey is jumping up and down with the answer. And we've got 3 and 6. And now Ramara's probably joined in, jumping up and down. But actually, we know that the two numbers that add together to make 11 are 2 and 9. So they multiply to make 18, add together to make 11. So we know now that we present our answer as an open bracket x plus 2 and then another bracket with x plus 9. Sorry about the writing on here, the tablet's really hard to write on. But x plus 2 and x plus 9. And I've got this equals 0 there because my question had equals 0, so I need to do the same thing there. Okay, so factorising done. Now I need to move towards the solving. Now for the solving, I can use these brackets. Now remember that with these brackets, we always say that hidden down in here is a little times sign, isn't there? We don't write it, but there's hidden times because the two brackets are times together. So if you think about, say, two letters that are times together, A plus B, and if we say they equal 0, just like my equation equals 0, now the only way that these two things times together are going to equal 0 is if one of them is 0, because 0 times anything will make 0. So I've got two brackets, and I need to make one of my brackets equal 0. So let's take the first bracket, x plus 2. And I want it to equal 0, so I'm going to write it down as equaling 0. And then I can just do a simple solve. X plus 2 equals 0. Well, in that case, for that to work, obviously x must be equal to negative 2, because negative 2 plus 2 equals 0. I have taken 2 away from both sides. So that is actually one of my answers. Now if I look at the second bracket, I've got x plus 9. I could make this bracket equal 0 as well. And in fact, all quadratic equations have two solutions. Sometimes it's the same solution twice, but they always have two solutions. So this time I've taken my second bracket, x plus 9, and I've made that equal 0. And the only time that that equals 0 is when x equals negative 9. And there's my other solution. So my answer, if I solve, could be, or is, x equals negative 2, or x equals negative 9, and that is supposed to be an x. And that is my answer. It has two solutions, and I found them both. And to do that, I factorised into two brackets, and then I wrote out my bracket and made it equal 0 and solved. And then I took my second bracket and I made that equal 0 and then solved again. And what do these solutions mean? These solutions actually mean that if I take my original equation of x squared plus 11x plus 18, if I put one of these numbers into it, then it will equal 0. In fact, either of the numbers will work, and I'll show you. So let's say I'm going to swap x for negative 2. So we start with x squared, so negative 2 squared. And then I've got 11x, so that's 11 times by x, which is, in this case, I'm saying negative 2. I've put it in brackets because it's a negative and it makes it just a little bit clearer. And then plus 18 on the end. Let's make that equal sign a little bit better. Okay, well, negative 2 squared is negative 2 times negative 2, which of course we know is positive 4. 11 times negative 2 is negative 22. And then we've got positive 18 on the end. Okay, 4 take away 22 is negative 18. add positive 18, and we're left with 0. So it works. So we've solved it. So the solutions are, just to recap, x equals -2 or x equals -9. Right, so you can copy that down in a minute if we take the video back. But for now, let's do just one more example. Okay, same thing. We've got to factorise and solve, 2 parts. Let's do the factorise bit first. Hold on, let's just turn that on. Turn the pen back on. Right, there we go. Factorise. So again, easy bit. We've done this before. 2 numbers that times together to make 18, but add together to make 9. Well, 1 times 8, 2 times 4. I certainly don't need to go any further because I can see that 1 plus 8 makes 9, and 1 times 8 makes 8. So once again, the easy bit, the bit we did yesterday or before, we can put that into brackets. So x plus 1 and x plus 8. And again, my question says equals 0, so I need to make it equal 0, so I just write it down. That's the factorise. But of course now I need to solve, and to solve I need to make my brackets equal 0, because I've got this thing of one bracket times by another bracket equals 0. And one of these needs to be 0. So write out your bracket and make it equal 0. And figure out what x must be. Well, x plus 1 equals 0. X must be equal to -1. And for the second bracket, we've got x plus 8 equals 0. Well then, in that case, x must be equal to -8, because -8 plus +8 equals 0. And those are my 2 answers. And I can write this as x equals -1 or x equals -8. And that is the final answer, highlighted in a terrible green. Right, now go do some questions.